Believe in you. There we go. All right. Welcome back, guys. We are going to move on to topic number 2. And topic number 2 is player griefing, player cheating. Is the blacklist enough? Kind of an all-encompassing topic. It's a pretty risque topic to be talking about because a lot of people have mixed feelings on it. But let's talk about cheating. So I think the funniest thing this X-Pack, I don't know if Rex knows anything about this, but the memery that happened in the new raids in P12 specifically, Part 2, so they had the issue with Dragon Song where people were telescoping to try to figure out where the attacks were coming using an add-on to telescope. And then when they brought that to head and were dealing with that, it was the
first step in discussing cheating is what
do we actually consider cheating? So I think anything that benefits you in a positive manner that deters other people from playing. So I think yeah.
So I think FF logs is I think is a good thing overall because knowing it improves the rating scenes like that. But then if you start to get into stuff that is like what happened in DSR, and I saw some people doing it in top as well, where you can see everything visually going on and there's extra tells and things showing up. Or the extra telescope where you can see the effects coming in from outside the arena. That's definitely something that's gonna be cheating, right? And I feel like Square Enix's stance on no anti-cheat is definitely caused a boil of the frog in this whole topic, this whole thing. It starts with ACT and then it goes to housing mods and then it goes to your character appearance and then you got crafting, auto crafting, and then now we have the game looking like WoW Mythic raids.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can drill this down a little bit easier. I think anything that gives a player a very clear advantage to the game, be it, advantage in DPS checks or getting higher parses or winning something that is required a certain number of times to be won in order for you to be able to get a title. Let's say the clipping and cheating issues we've been seeing in the new Fall Guys content, right? 100 wins gets you the King Bean or Queen Bean title. Anybody who's cheating in order to be able to get those wins, to me, is cheating. That's my form of cheating. I don't think that I know this is a hard stance, but I don't think that the use of add-ons that have no effect on anybody else other than the player themselves should be considered cheating, or the use of them should be banned. I think that as long as you're not using the data you receive from those to grief other players, I would say that, I think, to me, is cheating, or at least griefing for sure, right? I mean, that's kind of the big one for me. So
I think the big thing is malicious intent, right?
Correct.
Are you being malicious with these things, right? Are you using these add-ons, these tools to improve yourself and your gameplay and your experience with this game, or are you using it to try and force others to conform to you? Are you using them as
to
information?
Detract from another person's enjoyment of the game.
And I mean, that's true just in general of a lot of you can have that kind of conversation even without the cheating tools, right? People can still act like that outside of it, and even that's not allowed, right? It's still reportable, and I think we're going to circle back to that later when it comes to the blacklist stuff.
Right. So I think the DSR stuff and the top stuff was really funny because if you guys were following any of the P12S clears, there's a telescoping feature in P12S Part 2. So the game actually itself will telescope out. So it kind of deterred the use of the telescoping, right? Because if you're going to telescope out and then the game's going to telescope out for you, you're going to see nothing on the screen. And that was kind of the funny meme of it all, right? That they were just it's not showing, it's not coming through the way we want it. And, they're trying to deter that kind of use of add-ons to be able to create that clear advantage. I think along the lines of things like ACT, I don't have a problem with ACT, but again, as long as you're not griefing another player with it, or, I think it's a very constructive and helpful tool to help people become better if that's what they want to do, but I don't think it's something that you should use to put people down.
No.
Along the lines of cheating, I had a clip, but our clips haven't been really working tonight, so I'm not sure I'm going to play it tonight. I think we'll post it around our YouTubes, some of the clips that we're doing. Hey, Blinded! Hey, Chaos, how are you? If you guys are following Chaos, by the way, please do so. Planet Chaos is a great near and dear friend to us. They do our Savage Sunday raids with us, and does a dancer. We'll definitely have them on the channel at some point, or on the podcast at some point. I think we've got a episode lined up for Chaos and for Conjured Cow. And actually, a massive shout out to Conjured Cow. Everything you see in the UI and all of the transfer changes and whatnot, that's all thanks to Harley, Conjured Cow. So massive shout out to them. If you're interested or need any emotes or any kind of overlays or something, please feel free to reach out to them. They do commissions for that kind of stuff, and it all looks really, really good. So big shout out to Harley. Thank you so much.
They're currently at work, but they also stream, so go follow them.
Yep. Yeah, go follow them as well. Conjured Cow. We'll do some shout outs at the end for people who are here and some stuff. But yeah, I think a bigger piece of the pie that I would like to kind of discuss is the character or player griefing. So I know that there's a TOS violation for griefing players inside the game via game chat, deterring them by trying to tell them how to play the game. That is against terms of service, and I think that's a very positive thing for the community, right? We don't want people being malicious about the way that they treat other players. I think where it falls short is if you could very clearly show who is griefing from an outside perspective, and their in-game characters. I think that is something that Square should be taking action on. I know it's not a popular opinion because it's like it has nothing to do with the game, but you're using the game. I think you're using the game to treat people like crap in like Discord calls or in your stream or anything like that. I think that's something that we definitely that we need to take a harder stance on. I think us as players need to take a harder stance to not associate ourselves with people like that. I think it creates a toxic environment, and the only way to clean up the toxic environment is to just associate with those people. That's my personal opinion.
I feel like as a community, we've definitely gotten better about it, like overall. Because I remember in 2.3, my first the first time I maxed out my character, right? I was doing Crystal Tower as a ninja, and I was brand new. I had the wrong gear on because I didn't realize that ninja needed dex at the time. That's a whole other thing. They shared gear with monks, so it was kind of confusing. But someone called me out in the middle of Crystal Tower saying like where like they were in another alliance, right? And they're just parsing the whole raid, and they started calling me out and stuff like that. And you'd have it in like dungeons, you'd have it in I feel like I don't see it anymore really in like Party Finder or Duty Finder, like ever, just like blatantly. I run into it like very rare, like occasionally, but I mean like occasionally now is like once every 2 weeks I run into it, which is still way too much. But back in the day, back in like Heavensward and A Realm Reborn, I'd run into it like every other day. Right. So like as a community, I feel like we've definitely done better, but I feel like there still needs to be steps forward on that.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, and I think a great example of kind of how we should be reacting to this, right, is Chaos. I apologize. I'm going to use our raid story as a way to kind of express, I think, how we should be properly running this through. So we had a situation where we were raiding P9, and we had a Party Finder group up. We brought some people in, and I think we got down to like 2%. And after the wipe at 2%, we got back into the fight again to be able to like go in. And one of the guys was like, we would have done better if somebody had picked up their DPS and they weren't the furthest one behind. And a bunch of us jumped on this, like, right? This is unacceptable behavior, in my opinion. This is the behavior that we don't want to see, where it's like, we're not completing this fight because other people aren't doing their job, right? That's not the point of the game. The point of the game is to have fun and push through. If you don't want to have fun and push through, I don't know why you joined Party Finder, right? Party Finder is what it is. It's just where it is. But we all jumped in and said, well, how would you know, right? How would you know that that person wasn't upkeeping their end of the DPS without some kind of a parsing tool, right? So I think, like I said, I like parsing tools because I think they benefit players if that's the tool that they want to use to better themselves. But I don't think it's the onus is on other people or random people to be telling people what to do unless they're asking for that help, right? So I think that's where like griefing can kind of be, or like, telling players in the middle of a fight when to use their particular skills if they didn't ask for that information. I think that's another one that we've seen a lot of where, hey, use your thing here. I think if you're discussing like myths before you pull the fight of like where you're going to place them, that's one thing. But like being mid-fight and telling somebody, hey, don't forget your standard step. Oh, hey, don't use shake right here. And you have no idea like that this is their first time or how they've introduced themselves to raiding. I think that kind of creates the environment where we want to avoid.
Yeah, definitely. Like use these tools for the individual or for your static as a friend towards each other, but not towards like random people, especially when it's unasked for, right? And I definitely feel like one thing that's really interesting to me that I just realized, it's dick measuring. One thing I just realized is that I feel like I've mostly seen it with dancers. I think that's it's also kind of a thing that dancers has low DPS in general, right?
They have low DPS, but they have a high
DPS.
utility, which is why
they they have low self DPS, right? And I've seen people call out dancers the most, which I think is a really interesting thing that like maybe they should kind of these people need to check themselves anyways, but maybe they should think about like why they're always calling out dancers on their damage as well.
Yeah. I think the big one, so we'll touch a little bit on the blacklisting stuff because I think that's a big piece of it. I personally don't think that blacklisting goes far enough, right? If I blacklist a player, that player still has me in their friends list. If we were friends and I blacklist them, or if we were friends and I no longer want to be friends with them, then I could remove my friendship from them, but it still keeps the friendship on their side. I know this is the same for like weddings. Like if one of the partners in a marriage decides that they want to break it off, and they discard their ring, the other person still has access to the ring and still can teleport directly to them. That to me is like, that's not the right path, in my opinion. I think this is a very wrong way to do it. I know that there have been some people using add-ons to basically make players that they don't want to see because they've been griefed by them disappear from their game. I think that's a more appropriate use of Square Enix's time when it comes to blacklisting, is that they just literally keep you from being able to see them in your game. I know that's a big lift.
Ghost them.
Yeah. I think so, Rex. I think of the RMT stuff, I think if you went back in your list, you would find that either those names, I can't remember what happens when a user is deleted in your blacklist. I think they just turn into, you have to clean it out once a week. I think they just turn into like no longer receivable or something.
Well, they should turn to like what they are in like your friends list, right? Which is
unable to retrieve.
Unable to retrieve. That's it.
Yeah, so you have to go in and clean out the unable to retrieve spammers, right? Because they end up getting banned, and so their characters are deleted.
Because they're not deleting their characters; they just stop using them once they start to get caught.
Right. So it's interesting, but I think I think they need to do better. I would like to see, if there's one thing I would love to really see in the game, and I apologize for reaching towards the camera, but if there's one thing I would really love to see in the game is like in order to limit how many users you put into so I like Gibles knows this. I have three characters that I raid with, so at any given time I could be on any one of those characters helping out, given like who I'm helping out, when I'm helping them out. So like my main runs with my static, which is Tuesday Thursdays. I run with Kuladic Memers on Sundays using a character, and then my other character is a float character that I use to kind of help. Like if Gibles wants to run clears on his ult, I can run that on Copycat. But I wish they would do, and this is I literally will say this. This is the only thing I want to pull from WoW, with the exception of transmog, which is a whole nother story. I want to pull like a battle pass name that just tells the person what character they're in game, so that they could just invite those characters from a game perspective and have it as an overarching, like, hey, this user has these characters and you can pick through.
Yeah, I mean, friends lists are limited, right? But a system friends list / blacklist.
Yeah,
I think a system blacklist would be really nice, right? You blacklist someone and blacklist them on all your characters.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue, right? That Rex, because it's like if you block somebody from on your blacklist or put somebody on your blacklist, but the party lead of that PF doesn't, then they can end up in your game because that party lead can still be seen by the player. So it's one of those things. It's like that should be another thing that kind of spans the game as well, where it goes in and says anybody who's on any of these blacklists can't see this party finder. I think that the game could do better, in my opinion. I honestly think that they could do a better job of cutting out that kind of stuff. They have almost no. I had a friend who was getting griefed by an ex in game, and they had almost no recourse for them other than to tell them to move servers. Right? You should never be telling a player to move away from their friends in order to solve a problem with being griefed in a game. That's too much.
I actually had an instance of that personally. I ended up I unfriended, blacklisted, changed my character name, and changed servers to try and get away from you.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it was an ex that we had a massive falling out, and they played this game pretty religiously and had some friends who would show up at my house in game and where I had like the book and stuff like that, where you could like leave like comments. Right. They would leave a bunch of like hate comments and stuff like that in it.
It's just bad. Like it's bad form, right? Yeah, that's another thing, right? I think that they should expand the housing options to be able to only allow people within your friends list, right?
Yeah, friends. Yeah, like instead of like open and closed, they should have a friends only section. I mean, right. Like every other video game ever, for like to join your group has a friends only, right?
Yeah, I think we'll end up doing an episode on housing in general, because I have qualms with the way housing is right now and how they could have done better. Hot take, right? I think that the Science of the Dawn should have been an instanceable area that you could build out, and it would have been a base home for you. And if you wanted extra homes from there, you could have. But that's for another conversation. And I can go in more in depth on that. I think
that'd be good, because I'm actually in favor of their original housing plans and stuff like that. And
yeah. So I think like the housing stuff needs to be updated for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we blacklist. It needs to be expanded. It needs to be. I feel like blacklist needs to be system wide, not character wide. It needs to be more in depth on making sure that you're not interacting with these people, and it needs to be like just. I don't necessarily know if like removing off of your friend. I feel like probably this is the right answer, but I don't know if there's like instances where people are gonna like say like, oh no, I don't want that. Of like if you remove someone off of your friends list, it should remove them off of theirs as well. I feel like that's generally a good thing. I don't know if there's anyone who has an example of not wanting that.
I think a combination of like, because if you did like what you did, right, where you unfriended, blacklisted, and then moved to another server, if they still know what your character name is, theoretically they could find you again, right? With a more unique name, you're easily findable. And I think that like being able to remove somebody off your friends list and then being able to do like a name change would keep them from being able to find you as easy.
Yeah, and that's why I did change my name too.
Right.
But 100% blacklist needs to be expanded, the functionality of it, and then you do more to stop griefing outside of like even outside of like raids and content, right? Because there's going to be a large portion of this game is roleplay, and just people chilling in Limsa or whatever they're doing, right? Just G posing with each other. And if there's any kind of controversy in that, it's harder to deal with those people that way. And well, yeah, if you blacklist them, I believe you can't see their chat, but the person next to you can. If you're talking to someone, you're trying to make a new friend, and this person is actively griefing you, they can walk up and be like, "Hey, this person, blah blah blah," and like cause a whole problem with them.
Right. Yeah, I think we'll end up doing like a really good episode on housing where we talk about those kinds of things. Or excited, but yeah, I think the housing situation could literally be solved in a pretty fast instant. I think they just used their old spaghetti code to kind of think that they could do it, and I don't think it ended up working out for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of did. Well, they sort of did, right? So, just to touch on that subject, they made it so that somebody couldn't own multiple FCs. So I mean, you can't tell an FC that they can't have as many members or as little members as they want. That's just not how like the game's gonna work. And I don't agree with telling like having to have a certain number of members in order to be able to purchase that. If you got money and you've got a group that wants to build a FC house, then I'm all for it. I know of people who own almost entire subboards, subsections just from like between like having a personal house and a free company house on each of their characters before the fix. And I think that's a problem, right? I think and this particular person was actually buying people out of their houses and buying people's FCs. So I think like that stuff is like I don't agree with. I
remember back in the day that was the only way you could get a house. You had to just buy it off of someone.
Yep.
Essentially, like
unless you wanted to sit there for forever.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, well, even then, you were like lucky if a house even opened up. I remember, like, I'm talking like heavens were days where every single house was taken in every single ward, and the only it was rare one would drop, but there was always like one or two for sale on the Party Finder.
I also think that the housing in general needs to, and we'll discuss this again on our housing episode. Housing in general needs to be a step up program, in my opinion. I think you need to start with a small and then move to a medium and then move to a large. I don't think that like with the new lottery system that people should be able to jump directly from smalls to larges or not having a house at all to a large. I think that's I don't agree with that, right? Some of us went through the times where it was you had to stand in front of the post and try to ping it until you get to the right spot, and you know
I spent 36 hours on one.
It's monotonous and dumb, but I think that a step up program would kind of give, you know, small house owners an opportunity to kind of move themselves up if they wanted to, and then like entry level would bring you into kind of a smaller home.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good answer for that too.
Yeah.
I remember at a time people would relocate instead of buy plot to cheese the wait timer.
Yeah, because you could instantly reload, right? If you had like that was the joke, right, Joy? Like Housing Savage was a one-time thing, right? You dealt with Housing Savage, and then once you owned a house, you were free and clear to move wherever you wanted, right? If something was open, even if there was a timer, you could bypass the timer by just reloading into it, right? That's sort of kind of what I'm talking about, right? So being able to go from like a step-up program where you get in the door, but it's something a little more like, hey, you've had a small, now you can go to a medium. You've had a medium, now you can go to a large. Like that kind of a program to me, I think would be more well met than those that are just like jumping directly into larges, because some of us that have been like bidding on mediums with smalls for the last, 6 months, you get somebody who just has never had a home just walk in and take it, right? It's just one of those things. I mean, not nowadays, right? You're putting a lottery bid in and you're just waiting for the bid to come out. But I think you see a lot less people that were like, I'm only buying a medium. Well, why don't you get a small? And I recommend this. Like Hovia, I was watching Hovia's stream the other day and they were about to buy an FC house. And somebody was like, why don't you just get a medium? And I was like, why don't you get a small? Because then you can get like in there, you can get your subs started, you can get your
literal key to communities.
DRC, all paid,
and extra sub.
Award.
Keep up the ports.
Yeah.
Build a wall.
Keep up the ports. They.
All right, Pokemon, calm down.
Yeah, no kidding. Like they were like, why don't we go for a medium? And I was like, well, the mediums are hard to get, right? You're gonna have like 30 or 40 people bidding on the mediums. Why don't you get a small, let people get their FC room set up, get the subs and the and everything else set up, and then move into something like a medium. Once everything's been set up and you have time to move and you're not waiting, like you could be waiting months to get a medium, right? I mean, granted, the benefit of being an FC and trying to go for a medium is that you can have multiple people bid on the same house. And only one of them wins. So like or multiple people all bid on different plots.
Yeah, on that, I'm in Dynamis. There's still wards that aren't open. Yeah, they're in the game. You can go in and there's like 5 wards you can just go into. But none of the houses are available to buy.
Most of them are FC wards, aren't they?
I don't think they're listed as either FC or personal. There's unpurchasable. There's 5 wards that you can just go into. And you cannot buy any of the houses. I'm trying to so hard grind out like 120 million gil so we can have like 3 FC members bid on a large whenever it opens up. But I mean, like, I also remember the time I was always mad at anyone in Heavensward or Rumborn, anyone who owned a personal like medium and up. If they had a personal large, I like hated them. I was actually mad at them. Like, no, leave those for the FCs. You can buy a small. You can deal with the cottage, but I mean, like, that kind of mentality's done and over with the ward split a little bit.
Yeah. I don't think it's split technically. Well, I guess it depends on the server, but I don't think it's split near enough. I mean, like,
Dynamis is completely split, right? Because it's
right. I think it's only like 9 FC wards, and the rest of them are personal and FC capable.
Are they personal and FC capable? I thought it was only personal. Whatever.
Yeah. Some of them are personal and FC capable. Some of them are personal only, but some of them are personal and FC capable.
Yeah. Who used to play this game but hasn't in years? Who own a large house? Yeah, I mean, like, they shouldn't
do it
own it anymore, but unless they like log in like once every like 2 months to make sure they don't run out of their housing timer.
Yeah, I think we'll see some kind of an announcement for a new housing ward come the JP FanFest.
I'd love for old Charlian housing.
It's not gonna be old Charlian. It'll be either hot take. I'm going to point it out right now. Hot take. It'll either be Crystallarium or it'll be Garlean. And they'll do, if they do Garlean, they'll do a firmament type deal where they have you go in and repair it. And they'll just have another like firmament type activity.
God damn it. That freaking, you wish you had this plot. Oh my God. What's Smileton housing? That's another thing I was thinking of, was like moon housing. I feel like there'd be moon housing before there'd be Crystarium housing, because there are no, like, people live in if you go into the back of the Crystarium, you can see these like long hallways of like essentially like motel rooms, like hotel rooms, and that's where everyone stays in the Crystarium, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think you could do Yulmore housing. But I think you're going to see... I think the more logical is that you're going to get some kind of a Garlean restoration. And it's going to,
I could almost see Garlean restoration as the crafting thing. Like, instead of Ishgard restoration, a Garlean one for Dawn Trail. That'd definitely be a good ad for that.
But yeah. I don't think we... I think we kind of diverged a little bit, which is fine. But... do you have any topic things for the last little bit?
Let me just look at my notes real quick on the griefing. Oh, you know what is one thing that's really interesting? Have you actually gone through any of the reporting process for anyone?
It's a big, kind of a pain in the ass, to be honest.
It is a pain in the butt.
Screenshots and provide screenshots and...
Well, like, even like finding the reporting is like excessive. There's plenty of times where I've had to, like, someone's in limbs and they're like, hey, I just had like a really bad incident. Can someone tell me how to report? I don't know how. And I have to like support desk to contact us to report harassment, right? Report cheating, whatever. And like it's so out of the way and kind of hard to find.
Yeah, it is kind of a pain in the neck.
I kind of feel like there should just be like in your system menu, there should just be like a report.
Or right-clicking a player should give you an option to be able to report that player.
That as well, yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit of a problem. It's almost like the game is griefing you not to report people, right?
The devs being like, I don't want to deal with this, so don't
want to deal with this.
Why are you guys reporting this person? I don't want to deal with it. Oh, God.
Yeah. So
leave Yoshi P alone, guys.
Just leave us alone, guys. Yoshi P's busy. He's got 2 games he's working on.
This is for RMT. Oh yeah.
Yeah, RMT is super easy to report.
Yeah, even with like full receipts and stuff like that. Like I had I was doing I don't remember what I was doing. I think it was Diamond Weapon or something like that. And these people I was with just like they would spawn and run off the edge. And they and then you'd res them and they'd take the res and they just run off the edge. And I tried to report them and like I don't think anything ever happened with it.
Yeah, I do want to shout out. Thank you to the 5 users who are currently watching on the YouTube page. That's super awesome.
Hell yeah!
If you're not following the YouTube page, it's in a bunch of the shout outs that I did in other people's Discords, but it's youtube.com/beardsoflight. So youtube.com/@beardsoflight. Please join there. The more we can get people